Good afternoon and welcome back to another ironic introduction to another video. Today I'm going to be doing Airwalker's abilities as fast as possible. As always, there's a link to the forum in the description below and a timestamp if you want to skip straight to my first impressions and thoughts. That said, let's dive right in. Airwalker is a cosmic champion with an attack of 2,268, kind of low, a health pool of 33,227, above average, and a PI of 10,630, about 17th at the time of making this video. His passive is he has 40% reduced offensive combat power rate, and he has the power cosmic, which is a persistent buff that he starts with 1 and has a max of 3. He gains 3.5% of a bar of power every 1 second per power cosmic. He has bonus armor and attack rating, and he starts the quest with 1, and he gains 1 whenever he wins a fight. When he has no power cosmic buffs, he gains 1 after 7.5 seconds cooldown, and his special 3 can only be used if he has 3 power cosmic buffs or is defending. When power drained, locked, or burned, he inflicts 3 Dark Tide debuffs on the opponent, and the Dark Tide debuff has a max of 10, is an indefinite debuff, and reduces the block proficiency when blocking special attacks of the opponent. If suffering from a Dark Tide debuff and armor break, they take damage per Dark Tide debuff, and 1 Dark Tide debuff is removed when filling a bar of power or power cosmic is nullified. The Dark Tide passive is a crossfight maximum 1, which activates when reaching 10 Dark Tide debuffs. They combine into a crossfight passive that carries into the next 2 fights, as well as the current one. This counts as 10 debuffs for Airwalker's abilities and has additional effects based on the opponent's class. If the passive is active, Airwalker's 4th light hit refreshes 2 armor break debuffs. The class effects are for Mystics, no additional effects; for Techs, 70% reduced power drain, lock, and burn effects; for Immunes, 33% reduced offensive ability accuracy during special attacks; for Skill, crit rating reduction; Science, non-damaging debuffs have a 25% reduced ability accuracy; and for Cosmic, buff potency is reduced by 50%. While charging a heavy, Airwalker has increased ability power rate by 300%, and this can be held for an extended duration. 75% of the power gained while charging is lost over 0.75 seconds after you finish holding your heavy. If a bar of power is filled, Airwalker gains a 1 second unblockable buff that is paused during his special attacks. If a special attack is activated while charging a heavy, he gains a fury buff for the duration of that special attack. All of his special attacks have a 11 second maximum number of 8 armor breaks on activation. If the last hit isn't blocked, it also applies 1 Dark Tide debuff plus 1 for each additional buff on Airwalker. His special 1, the last hit, has a 50% chance to stun for 2 seconds, with a 50% increased chance to stun if Airwalker is unblockable. His special 2, if the opponent has a Dark Tide passive, this attack deals 40% increased damage, and his special 3, which again can only be activated if he has 3 power cosmics, replaces the power cosmics with a 20-second power of Galactus buff, which gives bonus attack rating, a regeneration buff, 10.5% of a bar of power per second power gain buff, a passive unstoppable effect, and the attack and all of his attacks have a 100% chance to deal additional burst damage, 5% damage dealt per Dark Tide on the opponent, and when this buff ends, it sets Airwalker's power to 0. His awakened ability is that he inflicts a Dark Tide debuff every X seconds on the opponent, and that is Airwalker as fast as possible. Well, give or take. His abilities are a little complicated, although the power cosmics are. As far as my first impressions and thoughts, I really draw curiosity. I don't think this guy's like super incredible. That's my first impression. I'm not impressed. I think there's really good potential for ramp up, but like none of this is impressive until you get to the special 3. Like as a defender, all of this looks great and proper annoying to deal with. But as an attacker, I don't see anything like stellar until the special 3, because the special 3 is insane. For 20 seconds, it's over 100% of his attack as a Fury. 5,000 health on a maxed out 5 stars, a pretty good chunk of health on a regen. 10.5% of a bar of power every 1 second ends up being like 210%, or essentially 2+ bars of power over 20 seconds, which is like a really solid amount of power gain. He also gains a passive unstoppable effect and gets a bunch of free damage, which if you have a passive Dark Tide on the opponent, this is essentially 50% increased damage on the already 100% chance to deal an additional burst of direct damage, which is a really, really good amount of damage. So yeah, outside of that, I don't see anything crazy. What I think I see potential-wise in this champion, outside of the defender usage, is only like dependent on the special 3. So my concern is that the power cosmics are consumed by the special 3, and I don't see anything in here that states that he's going to gain them back, right? So essentially, after the 20 seconds, do you lose your persistent charges? Like, do those not carry from fight to fight? Or do you have 3 persistent charges, and when you gain the power cosmic back, does that count as 3 power cosmics? Because you do gain the power cosmic back after 7.5 seconds. So I wonder, like, does this come back? Is the power of galactic buff, does that mean that you can't have power cosmic while you have this? Or is it because it's 20 seconds long, you know, after 7.5 seconds you'll also get your power cosmic back and it's going to be even more power gain? I'm not really sure, to be honest. And additionally, like, yes, this is a little over 2 bars of power, just like naturally, but don't forget that if you're charging heavy, that's increased. So this is potentially 6 bars of power actually, while you're charging heavies to get like additional effects. You are unstoppable, so you could aggressively hold that heavy, and you do have a big fat regen, so there's a lot of value there. Are you able to chain special 3s? Like, you don't have any power cosmics at this point, but again, you know, whether or not you get them back and you get all 3 when you get them back, or you just get 1 and like then you have to re-ramp. So I got a lot of questions for this, and those really, really affect it. I'm under the impression, just by reading the abilities, that even as an attacker, he's not impressive, because from the way I read it, you only get 1 power cosmic back, and then you'd have to re-ramp him. So essentially you spend 2 fights ramping this guy up, and it's like less than exciting. And then you get to the 3rd fight, and you have a 20-second window of just being a badass. And then that's it. And you have to re-ramp him again over, you know, essentially, right, like you have 2 ramp-up fights, and then a kickoff fight, and then you have 1 ramp-up fight, and then a kickoff fight, and then it alternates, because technically you would end this fight with a power cosmic, and you would win the fight, so you would get power cosmic if your persistent charges aren't persisting at that point. But even then, like, that's not great. I'm not a huge fan of that kind of a mechanic. So yeah, I'll wait to see the semantics of it, because there's not a lot of clarity here, and it's not like there's an FAQ. So based on my interpretations of this abilities, he seems like a defender and, like, you know, meme levels of attacker, kind of like Silver Surfer and Tarax, where it just falls off. But I'm gonna make the statement, I think this guy's got even less utility than Silver Surfer. At least Silver Surfer has those pseudo resistances, which are really, really, really good resistance immunities. But yeah, let me know what you think. Maybe I'm misinterpreting the abilities, maybe I'm overlooking something, or honestly, I just hope I'm wrong about my interpretation and he turns out to be a badass. As always, I hope you enjoyed, and I'll talk to y'all later. Peace.